Hello and welcome back to the Stationary Dev and to another fountain pen review, another new pen to me. So a little bit of background, I've kind of stayed away from Chinese brands. I had gotten some Chinese pens back when I was first getting into fountain pens. I believe I got some Wing Sung some number pens. There were some like really cheap piston fill pens and was really burned by them because they did not work great. They were not nice. They were cheap. They were horribly constructed, and so I've just stayed away from them. But Chinese brands have really come a long way since, in the past 5 years or so, I'd say, and are really, are actually starting to produce some quality pens. So figured I'd give them another chance. One of the brands that's caught my attention has been Asvine. They're one of the ones making some vacuum fills, piston fillers, really nice trims, and have generally been getting good reviews. They have their own kind of nibs and stuff too. So they've interested me. So this is the one I decided to pick up. This is the Asvine V126. It's in like a matte black, or I think they call it frosted black, and has all black trim and everything. So it looks really nice. I bought it. It's inspired by the Pilot Custom 823. So it's a vac filler. It takes its kind of accents and shape and design from that. But it's $28. $28, and like I said, in a variety of colors. They have frosted finishes, shiny finishes, swirl patterns, all that stuff. So you get a lot of different designs and different finishes and stuff, which is something that Pilot needs to kind of catch on to. I think if you're asking me something Pilot could improve upon, it's having some more interesting, kind of getting with the times a little bit and coming out with some interesting colors and stuff. But Asvine is kind of beating them to that punch and whatnot. But it does come in 3 nib sizes. It comes in an extra fine, fine, and a medium. And this one is an extra fine, as we'll see. So we'll see kind of what that looks at. I think it'll be closer to like Western sizing and stuff like that. And readily available on Amazon. I don't know if I said that already. As far as I can tell, Asvine is basically like the next evolution of Moonman. So Moonman kind of went from Moonman, then they went to Mahjong, and then I think it's the same company just with a different name. So now they're Asvine, and they're still producing good pens. Moonmans have generally been regarded as pretty good Chinese pens and had a good record. Yeah, this one is about the same. They come in a really cool packaging for a really cheap pen. It's actually packaged really well. Right off the bat, you get Asvine, instruction manual. On the back, you already get a warning here. Never clean your pen with alcohol. That should be a given, but some people make that mistake. Fill your pen with non-carbon bottled ink. Carbon bottled ink, like waterproof ink, will clog the fountain pen easily. Tells you to screw the blind cap all the way when you're writing. So unscrew it is what they mean, because if you have it screwed down all the way, it's going to stop the ink flow. And then piston failing. When the piston does not move, it means it has reached its end. Twisting the knob forcibly will damage the piston system. So just little warnings and quick use tips there. And if you have any questions about their pens, contact their customer service. And I hear that their customer service is actually pretty good too, or responsive. If you do reach out to them if something breaks or you have concerns. It comes with a really nice instruction manual as well. Tells you all about the pen, and we'll see. Sometimes they'll also come, I don't remember if this one did or not, but they also, I think their piston fill pens also come with a wrench to make them, you can fully disassemble it. So it comes with a wrench that'll fit all kinds of pens actually. But it gives you some twists, some use and care guides. Use the converter, dropper fill, ink cartridge, vacuum, whatever. Fountain pen maintenance, and sales and service. So a lot of information. Please check the note for using fountain pen on the back. Kind of funny there, but pretty good for like a super cheap pen. It doesn't come in just a bag or anything. It's actually got a really good packaging, well thought out packaging. I'd say quality packaging. You get it in a little sleeve here, and then here is the pen. So we'll take a look at the Asvine V126. It's a frosted matte black. It looks really good. So where, like I said, the 823 has been limited in terms of its like style and diversity. This one is blacked out. So it's frosted acrylic. It has matte black trim, which I'm pretty sure it's just painted black. I don't think it's gonna last super duper long. I don't think it's like ion plated or anything like that, or sandblasted or anodized or anything like that. I think it's just painted, but it still looks good. It feels decent, looks good. Uncaps, let's see. Uncaps in 1.5 rotations, which is acceptable, completely acceptable. It does have a good cap there, so there's no just like exposed screws or anything like that. It's actually a pretty big chunk of acrylic there, and it has a good sleeve there that'll hopefully keep the nib wet. On the back here, you have the screw cap, and this is my one thing that I really don't like about this pen, is that these screw threads are made of steel, but it's into the threads on the actual cap are acrylic. And so this kind of moves around a little bit, but I don't think that's an actual problem. It's just kind of how it's made. And it's not going to, do much of that while you're writing. But the real problem is, and you can already see it happening, this is a brand new pen. I haven't actually used it or inked it. Is the problem is right there. It's already digging into the acrylic and taking some of the acrylic off. And I think that's just a manufacturing thing. Like they decided for whatever reason to cut these wrench, these flat spots for the wrench after they had already cut the threads. And so when you do that, you're just creating a lot of sharp areas, a lot of sharp burrs and stuff there on those flat edges where those threads were cut off. And that's just going to just, completely shred the inside of those threads. So hopefully it's not too big of a problem. You're not going to use them a whole lot. You're not going to put a lot of pressure on them anyway. So, I mean, it should be fine, but just something they probably should have thought about or should think about improving. The piston run comes back pretty smoothly. If you don't know what a vacuum fill pin is, basically you move, it has this plunger here, and then when it gets to a certain part, which you can see really clearly here, it's going to, this part of the barrel is a lot wider than what's back here. And so as you push it down in the ink bottle, you're going to push this down, you put it in the ink bottle, you push this down. As you're pushing this down, you're creating a negative pressure back here, so you're creating a vacuum behind it here. And then once it gets to that release point, it's going to release that vacuum and suck up air to fill that space. And there you go, and it'll fill up ink into the system here. One thing I do really like, so first off, really smooth transition. There's no like hard steps. Like this is rounded right here, even though there's a step. It's sort of been rounded. It's sort of been smoothed out a little bit, so it's not digging into your hand. I really appreciate that. So you can tell that they were thinking a little bit about it. Threads are smooth here, and it is plastic threads on plastic threads, so that's good. The section feels good. The weight feels pretty good. There's a lot of metal back here, so it's a lot of the weight is kind of back here, but it's not overly so it's going to throw off the writing or the feel of the pen. You do get a Asvine nib, and the nib actually matches the trim, so it's a black nib because it's a black trimmed pen. So it says Asvine, has a little bit of scroll work, and then also has an E for extra fine, so you can tell right away what size nib you're writing with. Plastic feed, as can be expected there, nothing huge. One good thing, to get back to that good thing that I said, one good thing that I like about this one, that's going to make cleaning a lot easier, and also if you don't want to mess around with the vacuum fill too much, you just want to eyedropper it, you can. So this whole section actually unscrews here, and I believe there's one or two O-rings. Yeah, there's an O-ring right there, and that gives you access to here. So if you want ease of cleaning, this is something that once again the 823 does not do, the Pilot pen doesn't do. is you just can clean it. They discourage, disassembly, and they only want you to clean it by just pumping the vacuum, which can kind of get laborious. But this one, you can just unscrew everything. You can, clean this out really good with a bulb syringe. You can clean this out really good, just running water through there with a blunt syringe. You can get all the nooks and crannies and really clean it well. So that's something that I really appreciate. You can also eyedropper it if you want to get like a max fill. You can eyedropper it to the tippity top if you really want to. But that screws in really smoothly. If you're unscrewing it a lot, I would just recommend you get some silicone grease and grease those threads just to make sure the O-ring should stop most of it. But once again, just to be safe, get some silicone grease and maybe grease the inside here as well as you do that, just to keep the maintenance going there. But let's give you an example of how to ink this thing. And the ink I'm going with is maybe a boring ink for a black pen, but it's one that I need to ink up. So this is Iroshizuku Fuyu-Syogun. And Fuyu-Syogun, or Syogun, is my winter gray ink. And it's now almost February, and I haven't used this ink yet just because I've had so many other inks and stuff come across and come into my possession that I've just put ahead of it, and we're almost done with winter already. So I need to go ahead and ink this in something, and so I thought it'd be a good wintry mix for this pen here. So we're going to do, it's sort of a bluish gray ink, and it's actually a winter themed ink. All the Iroshizuku lines are nature themed, and I believe this one is Rigor of Winter or Old Man Winter or something like that. So it's a winter ink, and I've always used it in the winter just because it reminds me of those winter, cloudy winter days, cold winter days, and I really like it. It's my favorite gray ink, and yeah, so that's what we're going to use to fill it. So I'm not looking to get a giant fill either. I've got a lot of pens and a lot of stuff being used, so I'm just gonna fill. I'm not gonna go for like the ultra full, if you do this and whatever, eyedropper it or anything. I'm just gonna show you how the vacuum system works and fill it, and we're gonna move on with the day. But yeah, it's a Iroshizuku ink. They're really nice. I love the bottle cap sound. If you're like me, you like those kind of things. It's kind of a purpley blue, but definitely blue leaning gray, but it's still legible. It's a legible gray, which I like as well. I don't like an ink that you can't read because it kind of defeats the purpose. But I'm going to push this down, and then you'll see it release. Maybe. And you give it some time. You don't like snap it and then yank it out. It's going to take a little bit of time to vacuum up some ink there. So we get about half full on one go. I'll do one more just to see if we can get any more in there. Which we are, because I heard a lot of air bubbles come out there on that go. Trying to get the extras off here because I didn't quite prepare and bring a paper towel, but I found a spare one. So I'm going to ink that off, and we did get more ink on that second one, so we filled to about right here. So the first time was about half. We maybe got a little bit more on that second one, but you can, once again, you can pump it a couple more times. It'll get the rest of that air out of there, or you can do like the thing where you turn it up and then try to do that, or you can just eyedropper it. If you're super concerned about getting a absolutely full fill, just eyedropper the thing, because you can with this pen. That's one of the options. So let me get my ink situation sorted out here. I like to kind of wipe off the lip here so we don't get crusties and stuff developing, and it makes opening the bottles a lot easier. If you leave the ink on there, it's just going to crust up and stick up and make opening the bottle a lot harder. But there we go. Winter ink for the last leg of winter, hopefully. Although winters aren't too bad here. Now, when you're writing with this pen, one thing people might know with the vacuum filler, or most vacuum fillers, is it'll shut off the ink. So if you want to fly with it or something like that, this is a good option, because if you hold the pen up like this, it kind of drains the ink out of the section and feed a little bit, and then you screw it down, and that actually closes this little, the little tip of that piston rod goes into the feed and closes that section off. So ink actually won't flow. So if you're writing and it turns out to be really dry and, you know, runs out of ink, but you have plenty of ink up here, you forgot to unscrew this. So just make sure before you write a whole lot, you might get like half a page or something with it cut off, but before you write a whole lot, all you have to do is just unscrew that tip there and you're good to start writing, and it'll keep the flow going for you. So let's see how it writes. We have the Asvine V126, and this is a steel extra fine. I can tell you already, it is like a Western extra fine. Let me bring you in a little bit closer so you don't have to look so hard. It is a more Western extra fine, so think like a Twisby extra fine or something like that. It's very much on par. In fact, I have a Twisby right here. We can see there. So there you go. It's almost exactly like a Twisby extra fine there. The ink, as you saw, was the awesome Iroshizuku Fuyu-Syogun. Syogun. Really great ink. Has a lot of shading, readable for a gray, and just evocative of those kind of winter vibes for me. And so it's going to be a good pairing for this kind of gray black pen. It's black frosted, so it looks gray. So I think it's a good match, a good winter pairing here. First impressions, wetness is pretty good. Let's give it a little smear test. You know, good for an extra fine. Sufficient wetness. Actually, it's pretty wet for an extra fine, I think. About medium. So you're going to get your shading and stuff, as you can already see from the start there. You do get your shading and stuff that you want, even in an extra fine. So sometimes you don't get that there. Let me do a quick writing sample, and then we'll do a couple other checks here. So we have 5 boxing wizards jump quickly. Once again, you get good shading, good line width. Ink hasn't skipped on me yet. Good in all the directions here. And this is sort of my direction test. Downstrokes to the right, to the left, upstrokes, some figure eights there. It's not. I actually like this nib. It doesn't have any much bounce or anything. It's just kind of a typical standard steel nib. It's not overly smooth, which is nice. It's not overly smooth, but it is smooth. But it does have a little bit of almost sailor. It reminds me of a sailor kind of feedback to it. So you can probably hear that. It's very smooth. Like, it's not catching, it's not grabbing, it's not scratchy, but it feels like writing with like a wood case pencil, because you get that audible kind of feedback, and you can feel the paper a little bit. You know that you're writing with a fountain pen, and an extra fine fountain pen at that. Let's do a speed test just to see if the feed can keep up for a while. I'll even test it a little bit farther and we'll come back. Yeah, no problem. So it kept a line all the way there and back. No skips, anything like that. Really nice. So far, pretty impressed. It doesn't have a baby's bottom or anything, so it comes tuned right out of the box. I think Asvine are kind of known for doing that well out of the box. I think Hongdian is also known for having good nibs out of the box, you know, just good steel nibs that just write and do their job. So we'll see. I'll put it through its full paces. This is more just a first impressions because it's a new to me pen. It's straight out of the box, straight first inking. I haven't even washed it or anything like that, rinsed it out. It's just straight from the box, straight from where it came from. And so if you want some more follow-up, definitely check out the currently inked video that I do every month. So the currently inked for February, you'll probably have this one in it. And that'll be more of a longer term, you know, like writing with it for a month, how it feels and that sort of thing. So definitely check that out. But yeah, so far, pretty impressed. Now, build quality, like I said, I have some concerns, mainly with this side of the mechanism. You know, make sure it's going to seal right, make sure that these threads are going to last, because they feel gritty, they don't feel good. Maybe they'll smooth out after it chews off enough of it, but you know, we'll see there. So I have some longevity concerns there. In terms of construction, if you handed this to me blindfolded and you handed a Pilot Custom 823, I'd easily be able to tell the difference between the two just from the construction side of it. It does feel like cheaper acrylic than the Pilot does. You can kind of hear it there. It does feel like cheaper acrylic, but I won't say it's like not well built, because I think it's well built, well put together, well machined. Like all the threads, like for the cap and all the fit and finish is actually done really well. The clip is pretty stiff, but it works. It's a kind of a Pilot shaped clip, but it's a folded, you can't really see probably, but it's kind of, there you can a little bit. It's kind of a folded metal clip there, but it is round all the way around, which is kind of impressive to fold it and make it a ball like that. So that's kind of impressive. But yeah, just a regular tension clip. But like I said, you can tell it's cheaper materials than like a Pilot 823. You know, when you hold a Pilot or you hold a Sailor, even though it's still plastic, you can tell its quality. There's some kind of like heft or warmth or thickness to it. This, you could tell that it's different material, but it's still, I think, well built. I think it's well machined, well built, well finished. We'll see how well the matte finish holds up and see if it gets shinier or whatever. See how the matte coating on this holds up with some use. You can already tell on the cap band, it kind of has some inconsistencies. You get the Asvine logo there and then the model number there. So that's nice because you won't forget the model number, but you can kind of see where it has like some smoother bits already. So I'm sure that'll kind of get some wear to it. And like I said, I think there's kind of an indication there that I think it's just painted. And so that probably with use, this paint is going to wear off. So once again, you got to cut some corners somewhere if you're offering a vacuum fill pen that works well for $28 on Amazon and a bunch of different finishes. And so for what it is, for the money, for, you know, this is cheaper than a TWSBI, it's cheaper than, you know, a lot of, you know, similar options, cheaper than a lot of vacuum fill options. For a vacuum fill pen with its own nib, unique colors, matching trim and nib and everything, I think for the money, it's absolutely worth it. It's an absolute steal for what it is. Is it, and I'm fine with them taking the cues from the 823, because if you want an 823, you're going to buy an 823. You might buy one of these first to make sure it's like the pen for you. But you know, eventually you're going to get the 823. I don't think you're going to buy this wanting the 823 and then just stick with this. You might, because they're cheap and you can get a bunch of different colors. And even if this wears out after, you know, 3 years, you can just buy another one for less than $30 and get another 3 years out of it or whatever. So I don't think, so once again, I think it's absolutely worth the money. I think it's well built. I think it's going to last a decent amount of time. I'm going to put it through its paces in terms of writing and use and bang it around a little bit and see what happens. But so far, really impressed. So this has been the Asvine V126 with the Iroshizuku Fuyu-Syogun there. Once again, check the currently inked for a follow-up in terms of like, you know, more use and whatnot. But I'm really impressed. It's definitely cured my hatred or my I don't know, vendetta against Chinese pens for now. We'll see. We'll see. I'm still reserved. I'm still cautious, but I've been really impressed with this one so far. So hopefully we're turning that corner now, because I think there's a lot of good options, especially for beginners into fountain pens. You can get a vacuum fill pen for, $20 something. That's incredible. Usually that was like a Grail thing to get a vacuum fill pen. So anyway, I want to end it there. I can keep talking, but we've gone long. So if you've made it this far, make sure to give a like and subscribe if you can. And leave a comment if you want, and ask me any questions or anything. I try to get back to all of those. And until next time, I'll catch you guys later. Like and subscribe, doesn't cost you anything. Comment if you want. Appreciate it, guys.